and recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Poe, for 5 minutes.
Thank the Chairman. Thank you all for being here. One of these incidences with the IRS includes a group of folks in Texas, Catherine Engelbrecht, you all know her, and just put it back in the record. In July of 2010, they filed for an IRS nonprofit status for True the Vote and King Street Patriots in Texas. In December of 2010, the FBI Domestic Terrorism Unit inquired about one of the meetings. They came back in January of 2011, the FBI. All of a sudden, having never been audited by the IRS ever, the Catherine Engelbrecht and their personal finances were audited by the IRS for 2008, 2009. True the Vote in March of 2011, IRS questions about the questions on nonprofit application. Once again, in May of 2011, the FBI shows up at one of their meetings. October of 2011, once again, the IRS sends more questions, second round. And some of these questions were including, where have you spoken? Who did you speak to? What are the list of the people who were there? What did you say? And give us a copy of this speech and all your future speeches. IRS inquiry. And then in June of 2011, once again, FBI inquiry. November, December, FBI inquiry. Once again, the True the Vote had more questions. Third round from the IRS. The King Street Patriots had more questions from the IRS about their application. And then all of a sudden, February of 2012, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms shows up to investigate this organization. And then July of 2012, OSHA shows up to investigate their nonprofit request. And then the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality showed up in November of 2012. And once again, fourth round of questions from the IRS, March of 2013, more questions from the IRS, and then once again in April of 2013, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms shows up again. So you got the FBI, you got OSHA, you got even the Harris County Terrorism Task Force showed up to investigate these folks. All they're looking for is whether or not they can get an exemption from the IRS. Now, to me, this appears to be an abuse of the IRS working with other government agencies about this one issue of whether they should get tax-exempt status. It's political persecution by the IRS. And as you mentioned, Mr. Chaffetz, in your open statement, the IRS knows how to get things done by their subpoena and their requests for information that they turn out. Apologize to the chairman. That's my mother-in-law calling. She has her own ring. Anyway, they have ways of getting you to give out there in a fruited plain to get this information. They show up all these different times trying to get information. To your knowledge, either one of you, has the IRS agent, any person, been held accountable for the abuse of power that they used against this one citizen back in Texas?
No, I'm not aware of any.
Mr. DeSantis?
No.
All of the accusations against the IRS, and there have been numerous. Y'all have done all the investigation, all these different organizations who have been trying to get tax-exempt status. The abuses that have occurred, or the alleged abuses that have occurred, has anyone in the IRS been fired?
No, Mr. Koskinen stands by all of his statements, even to this day. They claim it was an accident, but nobody was dismissed, reprimanded, moved. I'm not aware of anybody having any consequence. And the GAO came back and studied it later and found that the situation is dire, it's bad, and it's still available for targeting.
And even Lois Lerner retired with full pension, even though she had been held in contempt of Congress.
Nobody's gone to jail. Nobody's gone to jail.
No.
And you had a federal judge, 3 months ago, make the comment, the D.C. Circuit Court judge here in Washington make the comment that the IRS cannot be trusted. Y'all familiar with that statement by a federal judge after hearing one of these
Yes.
lawsuits?
Yep.
All right. I'm out of time, Mr. Chairman. I yield back to you.
Chair thanks the gentleman and sends regards to the gentleman's mother-in-law and recognizes the other gentleman from Texas.